Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another amazing session here of the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon Okello. I am the host of the African Father in America podcast. I am here in Seattle, Washington. It's very early in the morning, 6:04 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you know what it is. At this time every morning, we bring to you beautiful African proverbs, and we dissect them in order for us to gain some wisdom and learn something new. I believe that these words that we are listening to, these proverbs that we are listening to, are directly from our ancestors. And today we are really taking a journey to visit with our people and our ancestors in Mauritius through this proverb that is originally from there. I'm just setting up on Clubhouse. Typically for this show, the Daily African Proverbs, we literally have a community of people that join me every single morning, Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we have a beautiful conversation where we learn a lot about these African proverbs that we discuss, but also we share our own words of wisdom. We share what we think this proverb means to us. So I'm just going to begin the show here, and I want to share the link to this live stream with those who are joining us on Clubhouse, so that they can easily join us on YouTube as well. And for those who are joining us on YouTube, please go in the comments there and let me know where in the world are you joining us from. Let us know where in the world you are joining us from. I am saying that our proverb today is from Mauritius, and it's filled with a lot of wisdom. It says that it says the goat's business is not the pig's affair. The goat's business is not the pig's affair. I want you to think about what this proverb probably means, and I think if you've ever heard that expression of the expression that says, mind your own business. You're trying to help somebody, but they quickly reply to you and tell you, mind your own business. It's something that puts us off sometime and catches us off guard, because as human beings we are naturally built to be helpful. So whenever we are told mind your own business, you find that we are surprised by it. So many times when we are told mind your own business, we don't think that there is a proverb that actually speaks to it. And this proverb from Mauritius, the goat's business is not the pig's affair. This is really what is aligned with mind your own business, and then when you look at this proverb even further, there are so many other things that you can pick up, and I have 3 lessons that I want to share with you here today. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm multitasking. I am sharing the link on Clubhouse so that those who are on Clubhouse can know that this conversation is going on right now. I am making sure that the show is sounding good on both YouTube and Clubhouse. And when you see me looking away from the camera, just know that I am producing and hosting this show at the same time. I love podcasting. It's how I wake up every morning, and I don't just podcast. I ground my work on African wisdom and African proverbs. And that's why we are here today. As I was saying at the beginning, our proverb is from Mauritius, and it says that the goat's business is not the pig's affair. And these are the three takeaways. These are the three takeaways that I want to share before we begin hearing the voices from all of you who are joining us today. Before I share the three takeaways, I want to just thank you, Sambaza Podcast, for joining us for the YouTube live stream today. And congratulations on all the amazing work that you're doing with your podcast as well. Now, these are the three takeaways from this Mauritius proverb. These takeaways, our hope is that you can put them somewhere in your notebook, you can put them somewhere in your heart, so that when you need some words of wisdom or some ways of overcoming a challenge, or one day if somebody tells you to mind your own business, then you will know that really it's okay. It's okay for you to focus on your own things and let others do their own thing. But this is the actual takeaway. Number one, don't try to fix everyone else's problems. That's exactly what I was talking about. Because everybody eventually is going to find a solution. You don't have to be the Mr. Know-it-all, because you'll end up stressed, and also you'll stress other people, you'll get frustrated, you'll frustrate other people. So instead, focus on dealing with your own issues, because each one of us have our own problems. And a lot of the time we have not solved our own problems, and we are going to solve other people's problems. There's another Kiswahili saying that goes like this: Nyani aoni kundule. The baboon does not see its own butt. The baboons are always laughing at other baboons with their pink behinds, but they forget that they have the same. And that's what this first takeaway is reminding us about. Then the second takeaway is that helping others is a great way to make yourself feel good, but don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. Make sure you are not taking on too much responsibility or becoming overwhelmed. This is something I also feel that I face as a full-time father. With my 3 daughters, sometimes I help them, but I become too much, to a point where the youngest, who is 3 years old, sometimes tells me, hey daddy, I'll do it by myself. For example, yesterday we were boarding the car, we were going to a soccer game. We were taking my oldest daughter to a soccer game, and I love fastening the seatbelt for the youngest one. And so while I was doing that, she kept saying, Daddy, I'll do it on my own. Daddy, I can do it. So I let her do it, and she did a great job. She did everything that I always do, And then she looked at me and she just smiled, and I knew that it's time for me to let go and not try to be helpful with every situation. Before I go to the third takeaway, I want to ask you all who are on Clubhouse, take a minute, share this room. We have only 2 shares. I would love to see it, go a little over that. Maybe we should get to about 8 shares or so. And also, if you haven't left us with your comment there on Clubhouse, just let us know where you're joining us from. Just type the name of your city there, and also do the same for us on YouTube. Let us know where exactly you are joining us from. I am in Seattle, Washington myself. I am originally from Kisumu, Kenya, and I am just about to give you the third takeaway from our proverb today. In a moment, I'll share what the proverb is, because I see that we are being joined here by new friends and family. So the last takeaway is that everyone has their own problems and issues to deal with. No one is perfect. Don't expect others to be able to solve your problems for you, while you're always expecting other people to come through for you, those people also need other people to come through for them. So if the people they expect to come through for them do not come through, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So you have to know that all of us have our own problems. We need to come up with our own solutions, and we should not always expect others to help us. This also applies to our children. Our children need our help to a certain degree, like I was explaining, but then it gets to a point where they should not expect help from us. They should not expect help from us, because if we are no longer there, then what are they going to do? What are they going to do? So those are just a few remarks to get us started. Today, I am always privileged to be here with all of you incredible people who are joining us, diligently every day to help build this community. So I want to take a moment to just remind you all that one of the ways you can support this podcast is by subscribing on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed and you are on Clubhouse, the link is at the top of the Clubhouse room. But the podcast itself is called African Father in America. So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and push the notification bell. With those few remarks, I want to invite one of my guests today, Stephen. How are you doing? Where are you joining us from? And also, when you hear this proverb from Mauritius, what is it that comes to your mind? This proverb says that the goat's business is not the pig's affair. Thank you so much, Steve.
Hello everyone, I'm Steven, joining from Kisumu, Kenya. It's good to be back after a while. Today's proverb is a nice one to me, and my understanding with the proverb is it reminds us to keep to our lines. What comes in mind is one time I was driving in the highways to Nairobi, and if you are from where I come from in Kisumu, and it's your first time driving in Nairobi, where when you're not used of traffic lights and the speeding vehicles and the many lanes that you have to keep for you to get to your destination safely, then you can ramp into many vehicles, or you can cause a lot of accident just because of not keeping to your line. So to sum my understanding with the proverb, I would request to be allowed to put across a Swahili saying that also goes pilipili usioila ya kuashia nini. That's it for today. Thank you for having me, Simon.
Yeah, I love that Swahili saying pilipili usioila ya kuashiani or ya kuashia nini. I love that. Yeah, Steve, thank you again for joining us all the way from Kisumu, Kenya. That's where Lake Victoria is, and that's where the best tilapia is also found. Now let's go to Lavender. How are you, Lavender? Where are you joining us from? And what does this proverb from Mauritius mean to you? The proverb says that the goat's business is not the pig's affair.
Thank you, Simon. This is Lavender from Kenya. Speaking from Denver, Colorado, and my thoughts about today's proverb, the goat's business is not the pig's affair, is just like Simon said earlier, we need to learn to mind our own business, and also gem you shared is learning when to let go, learning when to let people be, let people explore their options, find out or figure out things for themselves. Thank you. This is Lavender, and I'm complete.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautifully said, Lavender. And thank you again for joining us. What's the weather like in Denver right now? Is it cold there already? Sometime it gets cold there.
It's cold in the evenings, and I'm up in the mountains. It's such a beautiful view. The sun is up. Um, and today I'll be heading to Aspen, which is another beautiful space. Looking forward to enjoy. Thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, the US Olympians normally train not too far from where you are. Similar to the way Kenyan Olympians train up in the mountains, that's the region where they train. I think it's always in something spring. I can't remember the name of that town, but maybe Rushi knows. I think it's Colorado Springs or something like that. Anyhow, I just appreciate you for taking the time, and I appreciate each one of you who is watching or listening to today's conversation here in the African Father in America podcast. We are live as usual on YouTube, and we are also live on Clubhouse. And I want to hear what Stella has to say about this proverb. Stella, share with us your perspectives. When you hear the goat's business is not the pig's affair, what comes to your mind?
Thank you, Simon. This is Stella from Kenya. And today's proverb reminds me of someone who was once saying that if you go to a place, for example, a church, and if you look at who is sitting next to you, if their energy does not match yours, then you should get another place. And I kind of agreed with him because sometimes you can sit next to someone who doesn't want to sit next to people, or something like that. And they end up influencing you with their energy, be it negative or positive. So I agree with the proverb, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Stella, for all your hard work that is also making this show possible. My brother Rushi, how are you doing? Where are you joining us from today? And what is it that comes to your mind when you hear this proverb from Mauritius that says, the goat's business is not the pig's affair?
Good day, Simon. I am calling from my home. I am in Charleston, South Carolina, the port city, the holy city at that. What comes to my mind with this proverb is I like what Steven said about the driving. It reminds me to stay in your own lane. You got to stay in your own lane sometimes, because sometimes when you try to look at another lane, you veer off, and next thing you know, you're in a ditch or you're causing an accident. It also reminds me of actually yesterday, a friend of mine from Seattle called me, and she's in this position where she doesn't know what to do. She's tired of Seattle. She's tired of her business, and she's asking me these questions like, "What should I do?" And I'm giving her all these great suggestions of things to consider, and everything I say, she's like, "No, no, no, don't want to do that." And I had to stop to myself and say, "Well, maybe I should just listen and not give my opinion all the time. I should just listen to what she's telling me and just agree." And when I did that, I felt the stress from trying to help someone be relieved, because you know what? I know what I would do in those situations, and I can just sometimes it's just best to say, you know what, I would do this and just leave it at that. Sometimes I feel as humanitarians or as people, we get so involved in someone else's triumphs and challenges that you know we forget to focus on our own. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. We have to handle our own problems before we can really assist someone else. But it's not. I don't feel like it's a bad thing to, like, if you've been through a situation where someone else is going through, You can, for me, what I do is I tell them, this happened to me, and this is what I've done, and then I believe you have to leave it at that sometimes, because I know everyone has their own experience that they want in life, and you have to let people have that experience that they want. I think as friends or even as parents, we try to guide the people that we love so much that the discipline that we're trying to instill on someone else, it causes more pain, because I feel that even though as far as this analogy, uh, the goat's business, the goat has to handle their business and the pig has to handle their affairs. They don't match. They don't mix well. So I think that's what this analogy is saying, is that, if you're a goat, you do goat business. You let that pig wallow in the mud and be dirty and be muddy, as far as, because that's what they want. So that's what this analogy is saying to me. Stay in your own lane, just like how Stephen was saying, and also just do you be happy with what you have and what you are doing, but also there's nothing wrong with asking someone's for their advice. But also, sometimes you take that with a grain of salt. Uh, but because one thing I've always noticed is that even going through my life, I've listened, even with my parents for parenting. Sometimes you listen to your parents and you do all the things that they say, and you're going to get the outcome that your parents want you to have, but that's not necessarily the outcome that you want. So everyone has a life to live, and you have to live that life for yourself, because the ghost business isn't what will make you happy if you're a pig. So that's what I think of in this proverb. I thank you for the time today, Asante Sana. I appreciate the proverb and the insight and wisdom from everyone on the stage.
Karibu. I agree. When you're speaking about the story of your friend, I think that was actually fascinating, because I struggle with that sometime too, with knowing whether it's time to give advice, it's time to be a leader or a listener.
Yes. Yes, and one thing I've learned is always better to listen. One thing I've learned now is, as soon as I'm about to say something or give my input, I try to count about five, because usually that person is not done with their thought. And by me waiting, it gives me better insight, because a lot of times I want to give input so fast because I feel like this is the right thing. But you know what? I have to think, this is the right thing for me. I know exactly what I would do in this situation. But some people don't have the heart or the courage to do what you would do. So you have to let them, you know, either play the game or fold their hand. You know, that's how life is.
Yeah, that's how life is. I like this tip of waiting, maybe counting 1 to 5 uh, before you respond. I like it because, uh, you know, I have not had that before, and I think I want to practice something like that. I think it would help me a lot. So I thank you, Brother Rushi, for bringing your words of wisdom and sharing with us your perspectives on today's proverb from Mauritius. I want
No
to,
worries.
yeah, my brother. How long are you going to be in South Carolina, by the way?
I will be in South Carolina until for a month, for until October, probably around the 18th and 19th. I'll come back to Seattle for a couple of days, and then I'll probably be going to Nairobi, Kenya, for a little while. My second home.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You need to have a traditional house in Kenya.
I'm working on that. I'm working
Yeah,
on it.
I'm realizing that there is. I'm a part of a men's group here in Seattle, a black men's group, and most of the guys there are like local leaders. From executive directors at local nonprofits, CEOs at architectural firms here, employees of the government, employees of local foundations. And it's a space that we've been cultivating for years, actually. It helped us a lot during the pandemic, and we are not even more than 10 people. We know each other really well. And our families know each other too. But, yesterday we were talking about our relationship to Africa, and it was quite moving to hear what people had to say, the honesty around it, I was quite moved to hear how there are quite a lot of African Americans who have never been to Africa, but they have a stronger connection to the Caribbean and the diaspora, like Africans in Brazil, in Europe, than they have with Africa. And I was able to hear why. I also heard from people who have been to Africa. They are African Americans, and they still have a stronger connection to the African diaspora than Africa itself. Then there was an African American brother who has been to Kenya and Ghana this year, and this is the first time he's been to the continent, and he was talking about how he feels more African than he actually thought. How he saw so many people that are like him, that behave like him, that he was like, wow. It's not only the DNA tests that say he's African, like he's over 90% African, but he's just how comfortable he felt there, So anyway, I just got reminded about that conversation when you talked about you going to Kenya very soon.
Yes, I love Kenya, and I really agree with that. I feel very at peace, very at ease when I'm in Kenya, especially, to be honest with you, especially when I'm in the more rural locations like Kisumu. It actually reminds me of where I live. It reminds me of where I lived prior, when I was a kid, because it changed. One thing I've noticed is that it has changed so much here over the last 20 years, as far as how Black people interact with each other, and with the infrastructure has changed so much with how things are built up. So one thing I appreciate about Kenya and a lot of the places there is they still hold on to a lot of traditional values of how you should treat each other that we have lost, I feel, in where I live. So it's definitely a place where I can definitely feel more at ease and at home. I can be myself more. So I'm looking forward to being back home.
My brother, there's a podcaster, the podcaster from Sambaza Podcasts, who is going to be in Kenya at the last week of October. He's here in the US, but he's from Mombasa, So in case you'll be in Kenya around that time, let me know, and I can introduce you guys. Maybe could show you Mombasa from a different perspective.
Yeah, I would love that. I've been to Mombasa once, but I really didn't get the opportunity to do as much as I wanted to. So Mombasa is probably a place I will be going back to, along with a couple of other coastal places while I'm there. So I would definitely appreciate that. Ero Kamano Ehinia. Yes.
Nice. I love that. I love how you're getting your Luo locked in.
I am working on it.
Yeah, it's important, Luo is an international language,
Yeah.
Anyhow,
I agree.
yeah, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you, Christine, for joining us, and Pavi for joining us, and also Roki for joining us. We didn't have a chance to hear your voices today, but tomorrow is another day. We will still be here. Tomorrow, my special guest is a poet. Her name is Chioma Sheri. She will be with us on YouTube, on Clubhouse, not YouTube. So you won't be able to see her, but you'll be able to hear her. Sometime I have guests who join me on YouTube, and you're able to see and hear them. That's coming soon. We are lining up a number of guests, for you. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, African Father in America podcast on YouTube, and also follow the club, African Father in America Club on Clubhouse, and nominate 3 to 5 people to also join the club. Now, if you want to support this movement that we have been building since January 2021, you can do that by following me on Instagram and then engaging with my content there. I post these proverbs there before I come here on Clubhouse or YouTube about 3 to 2 hours before we do this Monday to Friday. We do this Monday to Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we've been very consistent with this. On Apple Podcasts, the African Father in America podcast is now a 5-star rated podcast with today is our episode number 258. It's not easy to record so many podcast episodes. If you want to learn more how we are doing this, let me know, or let Stella or Lavender know. We're actually working on a book about podcasting, and we will let you know when it's ready. But our goal is to make it available for you, our community members, so that you can access it before the end of the year. So let Stella or Lavender know if you want to learn more about that. But we have a lot of exciting things going on. We just produced Madaraka Festival here in Seattle, Washington. Over 7,000 people attended. That's no joke. It's no joke for a group of African people to organize an event in one of the biggest cities in the world. Seattle is a city that is actually quite advanced technologically, and even in terms of dealing with diversity and racism. Yesterday I learned that the blueprint that Seattle is using around that is what is being used in Sweden, and consultants who are people in the same men's group I was talking about are some of the people who are traveling in Europe and helping governments in Europe understand how to deal with racism and diversity and things like that. So, we were able to produce Madaraka Festival in a really beautiful place. If you haven't watched the trailer for Madaraka Festival, you should check it out on One Vibe TV. It's already there. So much to learn. And if you want to really be more involved, you should subscribe to our newsletter. The best way to do that is to go to my Instagram page. There's a link there, my link tree, and you'll be able to get to our newsletter, and you'll be able to subscribe, so that every week when we share some of the work we are doing in Kenya, some of the work we are doing in Seattle, outside of these proverbs, outside of this podcast, you can also be in tune, be involved, and contribute your skills to this incredible movement. With those few remarks, we've come to the tail end of our time together, and I'm going to go to TikTok for a few minutes after this. I'll do that while I'm uploading this episode to Apple, to Spotify. I'll be adding it to our podcast distribution platform, which is called Podbean. That's where we upload, and then it's distributed to all the platforms where you can listen to the African Father in America podcast, including Amazon podcasts, where we are also growing significantly. So again, thank you so much. Take good care of yourselves, and remember, the goat's business is not the pig's affair.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington.